welcome you all to the 6th chapter of Hornbill. Now this Browning version, the Browning version is a play, and this story that we are going to do is an extract from the play Browning version by Terence Rattigan. Let's talk about him first. Sir Terence Mervyn Rattigan was one of the England's most popular mid-20th century dramatists. During the war, he served as a tail gunner. After the war, he alternated between comedies and dramas to establish himself as a major playwright. He wrote plays. He was appointed a commander of the Order of the British Empire in June 1958 and knighted in June 1971. Well, this is one wonderful it's a very nice play that you will really enjoy because it is to deal the whole ambiences of a school where it is all about a teacher and a student. So yeah, let's go for it. You're going to really enjoy it. The Browning version highlights the attitude of a teenage student towards his teacher. His comments are shocking because they are very close to reality. He imitates the voice of Mr. Crocker Harris. Now, Mr. Crocker Harris is basically the teacher here. He calls the man almost inhuman. You will know why. He is mortally afraid of his teacher, extremely afraid. His promotion, the student's promotion, depends on the whim as in the way he turns his mind, the teacher. It just depends on his thought process or the goodwill of his teacher. But he opens up when the other science teacher encourages him to do so. He hates the Greek play because he does not like the teacher's method of teaching. Mr. Crocker Harris seems to hate people in order to make them like him. Now, well, that's a very funny perception, a very funny strategy, but yeah, that's how he does it. He seems to hate people in order to make them like him. The description of the teacher is damaging. It reflects upon the hopeless quality of teachers. Well, you have all varieties of teachers, just like you have all varieties of, people around you. So there are some exceptions which, fall into this category. Very rare, but yes, unfortunately, because you are a teacher either by choice or by chance. So now that matters, that matters a lot. So let's move on further and know the characters. Mr. Crocker Harris, a very strict and disciplined teacher. Mr. Frank, a science teacher. Taplow, a student. And Millie, wife of Mr. Crocker Harris. This is an excerpt from the Browning version. Browning version is the play written by Terence Rattigan. This is a part of it. The scene is set in a school. Frank is young and Crocker Harris middle-aged. Both are masters. Taplow is a boy of 16 who has come to do extra work for Crocker Harris. But the latter, that means Crocker Harris, has not yet arrived. And Frank finds Taplow waiting. Now, Frank is the science teacher and he sees that Taplow is waiting. So they have a conversation. This is a conversation between two of them. So Frank asks him, "Do I know you?" "No, sir." "What's your name?" "Taplow." "Taplow." "No, I don't." "You're not a scientist, I gather." "I try to think of it." "No, sir. I'm still in the lower fifth. I can't specialize until next term." That's to say, if I've got my remove all right. Remove here, what do they mean? It is a division in the British schools. So it depends if you're passing through. This is like your grading system out here, right? So if you're passing through, then only will he be eligible to the next term. So this is what he's telling him. I've not yet got it. If I've got my remove all right, if it is perfect, if my division comes good, yes, then I will proceed further. "Don't you know if you've got your remove?" He says, "You yet haven't got your remove," as in your report card. Like we call it a report card, right? Or your result. He says, "No, sir. Mr. Crocker Harris doesn't tell us the results like the other." He says, like the other sirs, other masters, they tell us, he does not tell us. And he says, "Why not?" Well, you know what he's like, sir. Now, he's starting to, sort of being a little, he says, you know what he's like, sir. So Frank says, I believe there is a rule that form results should only be announced by the headmaster on the last day of the term. He says, yes, I know there is a rule that says that the results need to be announced only on the very last day of the term. Yes, but who else pays attention to it except Mr. Crocker Harris? He's saying all the other masters, no one bothers, no one waits for the last day. It's only Mr. Crocker Harris who does that. He literally follows that rule. He does not tell us before the last day. I don't, I admit, but that's no criterion. He says, even I don't wait for that, and I'm telling you right away. But then that's no criterion, that's no standard for judgment. You cannot judge a person based on that just because he's following the rules. So you've got to wait until tomorrow to know your fate, have you? He's saying that means tomorrow is the last day, so you have to wait till tomorrow, right? To know what's in your luck, what's in store for you. He says, yes, sir. Supposing the answer is favorable, what then? He's saying, great. So supposing the report card is positive, it's really nice, it's good. What then? Oh, science, sir, of course. And Frank says, sadly, yes, we get all the slackers. Slackers as in lazy or unmotivated students. Now, science, you need really people full of zeal and enthusiasm and dedicated ones, He says, we get all the slackers, all the unmotivated students. And Taplow is protesting. He's literally going against it. He's showing disapproval. I'm extremely interested in science, sir. He says that. He says, I want to do it. Are you? I'm not. Not at least in the science I have to teach. He says, I am not. You may be interested. I am literally not. Well, anyway, sir, it's a good deal more exciting than this muck. He indicates his book. He is showing his book. He says, this is muck. This is something useless. It's pointless and I just don't like it. What is this muck? And Taplow replies, Aeschylus, sir, the Agamemnon. And now this Aeschylus is the playwright. He's written it. He's the author. And this is the play. It's a story where, the wife actually murders the husband. So this is a Greek play actually. Frank, and your considered view is that the Agamemnon is muck? Is this useless? Taplow, well, no, sir. I don't think the play is muck. Exactly. I suppose, in a way, it's rather a good plot, really. A wife murdering her husband and all that. He's saying it's really fun, it's thrilling, it's really great. The play is not, the thing is that the play is not useless. Everything is perfectly all right. I only meant the way it's taught to us. Now, see, it matters. There must be a really good story, but if it is not delivered in the right manner, yes, you might find it boring. Well, I hope I don't belong to that category. Let's move on. So, I only meant the way it's taught to us. Just a lot of Greek words strung together as in joined together. Too many Greek words. And 50 lines if you get them wrong. He says they really are too much. If you get them wrong, it's a long way to go. You sound a little bitter, Taplow. Frank is telling him, you're sounding really bitter now. I am rather, sir. Captain, Captain as in made to stay as punishment or penalty. Now he's come there to work extra for him because he had missed a day prior. So he says, so have you been punished, is it? No, sir, I have come for extra work. Extra work on the last day of school? What extra work are you talking about? Yes, sir, and I might be playing golf. You think he'd have enough to do anyway himself, considering he's leaving tomorrow for good? But oh no, I missed a day last week when I was ill, so here I am. And look at the weather, sir. He says, now you think he's leaving tomorrow for good, but you think he'll spare me? He says, no, you come. Why? Because last week I was ill, I was unwell, so I could not come. But right now, if you look at the weather, sir, it's so nice, we could have just gone to play golf. Frank says, bad luck. Still, there's one comfort. You are pretty well certain to get your remove tomorrow for being a good boy in taking extra work. He says, I understand it's been a negative thing that you're unable to go out and really play. You're working extra today. But this, what you are doing today, will definitely add on to your remove. It will add on to your result. Taplow, well, I'm not so sure, sir. That would be true of the ordinary masters. All right. I mean, all the ordinary ones would have definitely done that. They just wouldn't dare not to give a chap a remove after his taking extra work. But those sort of rules don't apply to the croc. He's literally getting so angry with him. Mr. Crocker Harris. I asked him yesterday outright. I literally asked him if he'd given me a remove. And do you know what he said, sir? He said, no, what? I mean, this is what he's saying. He's saying, see, if this extra work which I would have done for some other master, they would have considered it and, added to my remove. They would have given me a good result, a good remove. But this man, he is totally different. He is not the type of person. Yesterday, he went and asked him, Taplow went and asked him, sir, do you think, do you know what are you going to give me? I mean, you have any idea whether he'd given me a remove? And Frank is telling him, okay, what was it? Taplow, imitating a very gentle, rather throaty voice. Now, he is imitating Mr. Crocker Harris. He's speaking in his tone. My dear Taplow, I have given you exactly what you deserve. No less and certainly no more. Do you know, sir, I think he may have marked me down rather than up for taking extra work. I mean, the man's hardly human. He breaks off quickly. Breaks off as in he abruptly stops talking. Sorry, sir, have I gone too far? Now, all the frustration that he had within him for Mr. Crocker Harris, he puts it all out. He literally vomits it out. He says, he's telling me that I have given you only what you deserve. You're not going to get more, you're not going to get less. He says this man definitely is not human. He's hardly human. He breaks off as in he suddenly stops talking. He realizes, oh my God, I am going too far. I'm talking of one master to the other. So I guess I should stop. He says, have I gone too far? He's asking him. Frank, yes, much too far. Taplow, sorry sir, I got carried away. Got carried away as in I became overly excited. I took things too far. Evidently, he says it's pretty visible. He picks up a newspaper and opens it. Taplow, and he says that while he's doing that, yes sir, what was that Crocker Harris said to you? Just repeat it, would you? He's saying now, he took the newspaper and then suddenly he tells him, okay, can you tell me what he really told you? Can you repeat what that? And Taplow imitates again. My dear Taplow, I have given you exactly what you deserve, no less and certainly no more. Frank, looking severe. Not in the least like him. Read your nice Aeschylus and be quiet. He says, definitely, it's not in the least like him. Taplow, with dislike. Aeschylus, he's like, oh God. Frank, look, what time did Mr. Crocker Harris tell you to be here? He says, 6:30. He asked me to arrive here at 6:30. Well, he's 10 minutes late. Why don't you cut? Why don't you cut as in why don't you just leave? You could still play golf before lockup. Before it shuts down, you still have the time to go and play golf. Taplow, really shocked. Oh no, I couldn't cut. I definitely cannot leave. Cut the croc, Mr. Crocker Harris? Leave because of him? No way, I have to wait for him. I shouldn't think it's ever been done in the whole time he's been here. He says he's been here. I have never done any such. I have not taken the daring. I don't have the daring to do that. God knows what would happen if I did. He'd probably follow me home or something. He says, oh my God, if I do that, there's a possibility he can do anything. He can literally even follow me home or something of that sort. Frank, I must admit, I envy him the effect he seems to have on you boys in the form. He says, oh my God, I'm literally jealous of him. You know why? Because the impact, the way you guys are so scared of him, I'm really jealous of the fact, how does he do it? What does he do? Beat you all or something? He's saying, how does he make you all so scared? Why are you guys so scared of him? What does he do to you all? Good Lord, no, he's not a sadist like one or two of the others. Sadist as in he's not the person who derives pleasure by giving pain or humiliation to others. Now, sadist people are those who actually enjoy, giving pain to other people. They get a pleasure, they get a certain pleasure. But fortunately, Mr. Crocker Harris definitely wasn't like that. There were one or two others who were sadists, but not he. Frank, I beg your pardon? Taplow, a sadist, sir, is someone who gets pleasure out of giving pain. Indeed, but I think you went on to say that some other masters, he's catching him on every word. He said, one or two other when he said previously. Taplow, well, of course, they are, sir. I won't mention names. Now, here he's not getting carried away. He's not speaking out everything. Now, he's limiting it. I won't mention names, but them as well as I do. He's saying, look, even I know them and even you know them very well. Of course, I know most masters think we boys don't understand a thing. Many of them realize, they feel that we don't know anything. But sir, you are different. He says, you are not like this. You are young, well, comparatively anyway, and you are science. You must know what sadism is. He says, you are different. Comparatively, compared to all of them, you are way different. You are definitely not the same. And of course, being a science teacher, I'm sure you must be knowing what sadism is. Frank, after a pause, good Lord, what are our schools coming to? He's saying, what is going on? What is happening in schools these days? Anyway, the Croc isn't a sadist. He says, look, be it whatever, but he is not. That's what I'm saying. He wouldn't be so frightening if he were, because at least it would show he had some feelings, but he hasn't. He says he's not a sadist, definitely, but he wouldn't be so frightening if he were. He's saying if he was a sadist, he wouldn't have been this frightening, because he's very quiet. He's like a silent killer. So he's saying he wouldn't have been that frightening, because at least it would show he had some feelings. Being a sadist, at least you have some feelings. You're getting pleasure by giving others pain. He would have those feelings, but he hasn't. He doesn't have it. He's all shriveled up inside like a nut, and he seems to hate people to like him. He's shriveled up as in he has no feelings. He is absolutely feelingless, no emotions at all. He's all shriveled up inside like a nut. Our nut is totally, nothing outside, absolutely. He's totally emotionless. And he seems to hate people to like him. It's funny that I don't know any other master who doesn't like being liked. Wow. He's saying, I don't know any other master who doesn't like if people like him. He is one exclusive, unique character. Frank, and I don't know any boy who doesn't use that for his own purposes. He says, and now the way you are telling for Mr. Croc, I haven't come across any boy who could use that for his own purpose. A boy who could take advantage of that. Well, it's natural, sir, but not with the Croc. He's saying it's definitely natural. Probably we could have, but with Mr. Croc, not possible. Definitely not. Mr. Crocker Harris. Now Frank is like, wow, he's sounding something big. Mr. Crocker Harris. The funny thing is that in spite of everything, I do rather like him. He says, however he is. Somewhere I have a soft corner for him in my heart. I do like him. I can't help it. And sometimes I think he sees it, and that seems to shrivel him up even more. Now, at times he comes to know that I really like him, but that really makes him the same. It makes him that he hates me liking him. That's how it is in his case. I'm sure you're exaggerating. He's saying, now look, now you are overdoing it. You are exaggerating something as being worse than it really is. He's saying, I don't think that's the case. I'm sure he's not that bad of a person. No, sir, I'm not. In form, the other day, he made one of his classical jokes. Of course, nobody laughed because nobody understood it. Now, it was a very classical joke, so none of the children understood it. And he says, myself included, even I did not understand the joke. Still, I knew he'd meant it as funny, so I laughed. He's saying, I knew what it is, a joke, but then I did not laugh at it because I did not understand the whole thing. But still, because nobody was laughing and I felt it will be an insult to the teacher, so I laughed it out. Out of ordinary common politeness, politeness as in behavior that's respectful and considerate of other people, when you're really polite. So out of ordinary common politeness and feeling a bit sorry for him for having made a poor joke. He says, I did laugh, but you know why? I felt he's made a joke, though it was a very poor joke. I laughed it out because it's not that he should be insulted. That's the reason I laughed it out. But what happened to me? Now, I can't remember what the joke was, but suppose I make it. Now he says, now you laugh, sir. Frank laughs in a gentle, throaty voice. Throaty as in a deep and a husky voice. Taplow, you laughed at my little joke. Now what is he doing? He is imitating Mr. Crocker Harris. This is what Crocker Harris told him when he started laughing. Okay, in the class when he cracked a joke. So now he is telling him, you laughed at my little joke. I noticed. I must confess that I am pleased at the advance your Latin has made, since you so readily have understood what the rest of the form did not. He says, I'm glad you understood the joke. Now your Latin, your language has really gone way better than the others. It has improved, and that's the reason you understood what I spoke about. You, the rest of the class did not, but you did. Perhaps now you would be good enough to explain it to them so that they too can share your pleasure. Now here, he was trying to be helpful. He was trying to be polite to Mr. Crocker Harris. But what happened was he got stuck in it. He literally put the axe on his own foot. What he did was he laughed it out. So Mr. Crocker Harris tells him, okay, so I guess you're understanding me a little better, right? Now that you have enjoyed the joke, I want you to explain it to the entire class because the class has not understood it. So you explain it to them and they will also enjoy it. They will also really take the pleasure. So please explain it to them. The door upright is pushed open and Millie Crocker Harris enters. Now while he was telling him this, the door is open and who enters is Millie Crocker Harris. Millie Crocker Harris is Mr. Crocker Harris's wife. She is a thin woman in her late 30s, rather more smartly dressed than the general run of schoolmasters' wives. As per the other schoolmasters' wives, she was way better dressed. She is wearing a cape, you can see the cape, a sleeveless cloak, typically a short one, and carries a shopping basket. She closes the door and then stands by the screen watching Taplow and Frank. It is a few seconds before they notice her. Now she had opened the door. She came in with a basket. She was out. She had come back with a shopping basket. Then she closes the door and she stands by the screen. She stands just there watching Taplow and Frank. It is a few seconds before they notice her. They did not notice her immediately. After a few seconds, they noticed her. Frank, come along, Taplow. He moves slowly above the desk. Do not be so selfish as to keep a good joke to yourself. Tell the others. He breaks off suddenly, noticing Millie. Oh Lord. Now what is he doing? He was trying to copy Mr. Crocker Harris. Frank, like he's telling him, okay, now he took him, how that scene was over there. He continues the scene what Taplow was sharing with him. And while he was talking, suddenly he kept quiet because he noticed Mr. Crocker Harris's wife standing there. He says, oh Lord. Frank turns quickly and seems infinitely relieved at seeing Millie. He literally turns quickly and he's like, okay, he's sort of fine with it that she's come. Oh, hello. Millie without expression. Hello. Hello is basically an utterance of hello. It's a greeting, just like we say hello. She comes down to the sideboard and puts her basket on it. Sideboard is a flat top piece of furniture with cupboards and drawers. So she comes and he puts her basket there. Taplow, moving up to left of Frank, whispering frantically, frantically as in desperately. Do you think she heard? Now, he was scared because he was imitating her husband. So he very, desperately goes towards Frank and he tells him, oh, you think she heard us? Is that the case? Frank shakes his head comfortingly. Millie takes off her cape and hangs it on the hall stand. The jacket she removes. I think she did. She was standing there quite a time. She was standing there since quite some time, so maybe she has heard us. Taplow, if she did and she tells him, there goes my remove. So now, problem is, if she has heard me imitating him and if she shares this with her husband, tomorrow my remove, my result is gone. Frank, nonsense. He crosses to the fireplace. Millie takes the basket from the sideboard, moves above the table and puts the basket on it. She moves it on the table. Millie to Taplow, waiting for my husband. Taplow, moving down left to the table. Yes. Millie, he's at the bursars and might be there quite a time. If I were you, I'd go. He's saying right now he's at the bursars. It will take him some time there. So it has that much time that you can go. He's saying if I were you, she tells him, I would go away. Taplow doubtfully. He said most particularly I was to come. He said he had literally mentioned, he specifically told me, you better come. Mr. Crocker Harris. Millie, well, why don't you run away for a quarter of an hour and come back? He says, why don't you run away for a quarter as in for 15 minutes and come back? She unpacks some things from the basket. She says, instead of waiting here, go and come back. Taplow, supposing he gets here before me? Now he is very scared. He did not want to cut. He did not want to leave. He's saying, what if he comes before me? Millie smiling. I'll take the blame. She says, relax, you chill, don't worry. I'll tell him that I told you to go. She takes a prescription out of the basket. I tell you what, you can do a job for him. She says, okay, fine. If that's what you want, you do one thing. You take this prescription. Take this prescription to the chemist and get it made up. Get it made up as in get the items prescribed. You know what is a prescription? I'm sure a doctor's prescription. He gives you the medicine. That what he gives you is a prescription. I'm sure you're aware. Now he's safe. Now he feels, okay, I'm doing something for him only. So he says, all right, Mrs. Crocker Harris. He crosses towards the door upright. Now he finds himself safe. He says, okay, right now I am there because he asked me to come. I am also not running away. I was ready to wait for him. But his wife has given me a task to do for him. So now I feel I am literally safe, and so is my remove. By remove, I mean result. Well, this is where he ends it on a safe mode. Here, the part, that extract which was taken from the play has come to an end, telling you what? It gives us a message, literally. Too often we give children answers to remember rather than problems to solve. We make them by heart. Now there is a certain system, that's education system, is actually pampering you with answers. It is literally telling you what to remember. But it needs to have the skills, which actually eventually now it is the case that we are making you think. You are getting problems and so you have critical analysis. You think over it, how to solve it. And actually that makes you really smart. That keeps you really going. Exactly the way we shall keep going on to our next chapter. Till then, keep watching and keep learning.